I love the harmonica, but there are some things about this instrument that I absolutely hate. First, and maybe most of all, I hate that reeds can get stuck. So if you've played harmonica for any amount of time at all, you know that sometimes you'll try to play a hole and then nothing will happen. So in this case, it's usually a little bit of saliva or a tiny piece of food that gets stuck under the reed. And when this happens, the reed won't be vibrating and it won't make any sound. So when I was new to the harmonica, I bought a Hohner Special 20 and I got a reed stuck in like the first minute. And I went back to the store and I was like, you sold me a defective instrument. I want another. So I got another. And then 2 days later, I got a reed stuck again. Turns out I'm an idiot. Well, you live and you learn. So if this happens to you, here's what you do. So if you can bend on that hole that is stuck. So bending uses both the blow and the draw reeds. So if you have one of them that's stuck, usually if you bend, you'll be able to get the stuck reed to move after a couple times. So this is a F-sharp harmonica, and I was checking it out before this video, and I noticed that there was a couple stuck reeds. So let me play through. I'm just gonna blow and draw on every hole. So hole 1 is stuck. That was stuck, it just came unstuck. There we go, that one's stuck there, 8 draw. And then 10 blows stuck, so it's all gunked up here. So, just to show you, let me go down to hole 1 here. I'm gonna bend on hole 1. There we go, and I got it. Let's try hole 8. And I got them unstuck, okay? So usually that's all it takes, but sometimes it's still a struggle. So if you can't bend, it's even harder to do this because you're just gonna need to blow and draw a lot on that hole and hope it comes free. So like you would do something like, and really just try to use some force and break it out of its stuck position. It's not a great solution, I know, but sometimes it works. Sometimes you gotta be very forceful. Sometimes being gentle is actually better. Sometimes, let's say like a 6 draw is stuck. Sometimes it'll come unstuck if you approach it from 7 draw and you go right into it and you're really gentle. It's all different depending on how it's actually stuck. And in the worst of cases, you may have to take the cover plates off and then physically move the reed free. Usually just kind of plinking it is enough to get it loose. So this is pretty annoying when you're practicing at home, but it can be a serious problem on stage. So before I play a show, I will blow and draw on all the reeds on all my harmonicas to fix any problems before I go and get started. Now, sometimes a reed will choke up during a song, like right before a solo or something. And in the moment, you may just have to pull a little bit harder to get the reed unstuck. Like it's something you have to adapt to in the middle of the song, because unless you have a replacement harmonica that you can just grab, you have to use this one, right? And it's not great if you have to avoid it. So if you notice that it's stuck, you might just have to like draw really hard and hope that it pops free. It doesn't help too that the better set up your harmonica is, like the more gapped your harmonica is, this is actually more likely to happen because the gaps are smaller, so it's easier for things to disrupt the movement of the reed. So if you have a harmonica like this one that's set up for overblows, it's even more prone to this problem. So the good news is that as you get better, you learn to use less air and less saliva, and you'll find that reeds just get stuck less frequently. When I was starting, it was a daily problem. Now it's not quite as often, but getting reeds stuck is still a common experience. Next, I hate how inflexible the harmonica is with keys. I'm a multi-instrumentalist. On all the other instruments I play, it's not that hard to find the right note and then lock onto the key that the band is playing in. So here's an example. Let's say you're playing with some people and they play in the key of A major, okay? Without even having the conversation, you could fiddle around for a second, find that, oh yeah, this is based around the A note, and then you just build a scale from there, and now you can play with them. On harmonica, you have to pick up multiple harmonicas to find the right key for the position that you want to use. And if you're lucky, you might pick up a harmonica that sounds mostly right, but it might not be in the position that you need, and you have to keep looking. It's quite a headache. You can make this a little bit better by using the auto key app on your phone, which will usually tell you the key correctly, but you still have to do some key math to figure out what key harmonica you need for the position that you want to play in. It's a bit of a mess. That means as a harmonica player, you always have to be asking the question, what key are we playing in? And then you still need to do more thinking to decide what harmonica you should actually use. In fact, that's another element of this that I hate. Let's say a band is playing in A minor. You have to decide, what position do I use? Third position, second position with the blues scale, fifth position, fourth position? Are those a better fit? And then you have to think through all of the key relationships just to determine what harmonica you need. It's such a headache and a problem. And charts can make this a little bit easier, but it's still tough. And there are still decisions that you need to make. Also, what happens if you go from one song right into another song that's in a different key? Or maybe the song modulates and it changes keys during the tune. In these situations, you're kind of scrambling and there's not much you could do because as harmonica players, we just don't have flexibility. So you either have to pre-plan everything where other musicians like guitarists or pianists can just easily make those changes on the fly. So yeah, harmonica has this trade-off where it's relatively easy to play in one key compared to some other instruments, but it's exceptionally hard to follow anything that hasn't been completely planned out and pre-decided. I hate this. There's not really a way to make this better. It's just something you have to deal with as a harmonica player. Next, I hate how there are some chromatic notes that are stuck behind overblows. This is the case with bends too, but bends make up a lot of the character of the harmonica's sound, so I'm okay with them. But overblows are a different story. I mean, I use overblows in my playing now, but it took me years to get good enough to actually use them musically. This is really annoying if you're trying to cover a song and that song has some chromatic notes and you just can't play them because you can't hit the overblow quickly or reliably enough. It makes you feel very limited until you're quite an advanced harmonica player and you can hit those notes in a musical way. It's like playing a piano, but someone took a couple keys away. I mean, can you make do without those keys? Yeah, but it sucks to be limited. And honestly, I don't think anyone's come up with a good alternative to fix this problem that doesn't have its own big trade-offs. You have weird overblow setups where you have to physically cover a hole or block a space on the back of your harmonica. Some of the better ideas are buttons like chromatic harmonicas, and maybe some of those options are decent, but I haven't tried any that I've liked so far. I will say that I have not yet tried the JDR trunculus. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, which might be the best solution that I've seen so far, and I'll be doing a review of that one soon on the channel. So subscribe if you want to catch that video. The next thing I hate with a passion is feedback when playing amplified. Amplified playing is great. Amplified harp is a blast. It's also great that a good amplified setup on harmonica doesn't take too much gear. Hell, I don't even use an amp. I just plug into a pedal board and that goes into a PA. All of this is well and good, but feedback is still a serious problem if you want to play at louder volumes or use certain pedals. Now, there are some things that you could do to reduce feedback, some tricks with volume knobs and speaker placement, but nothing's perfect. For me, I use a feedback shield pedal from Lone Wolf Blues Company that does a decent job of cutting feedback. It works in many situations when I play live, but sometimes if you're near a speaker, it's just impossible to avoid that ear-piercing sound even with the pedal. It's aggravating to have like a great solo going and then all of a sudden people are covering their ears because your music got drowned out with really painful feedback because you're careless with the volume knob or your placement in relationship to a speaker or a stage monitor. It's annoying when playing live and it's also annoying when playing at home. In addition, there's a ton of guitar pedals that you could potentially use, but many of them don't work because they just immediately will feedback. There are some cool potential solutions to this, like the Harmonicaster. I just wish standard diatonic harmonicas could be amplified in a cleaner way that didn't lead to feedback. I haven't tried the Harmonicaster. It looks like a solution to this, but it's pretty niche at this point. The last thing I really hate about harmonica is how hard it is to learn songs. Now, for perspective, I played a whole bunch of instruments: trumpet, guitar, bass, piano, banjo, mandolin, I sing, the list goes on. On all of those instruments, the standard process of learning has been picking up songs that get progressively more difficult. And as the songs get harder, I got better and I can take on even more difficult challenges. This is really hard to do on the harmonica, and it comes down to two main problems. First, there isn't a ton of recorded diatonic harmonica music or just music written or recorded for the harmonica as a whole outside of a few decades of blues music. Second, the music that we do have is tabbed out so poorly that it's practically useless. This means that If you want to learn songs, you need to come up with your own process of learning them, and it probably won't go well unless you have some decent skills already. So let's say you're learning piano. You have hundreds and hundreds of years of properly written music that's well notated, and many songs, both classical and popular music, have recordings you can study from. There are also books that you can learn that start really basic and get progressively more difficult. This is the same for really any other classical, jazz, orchestral, or band instrument. On guitar, you have a huge collection of music to learn from, like singer-songwriter chord charts to fingerstyle guitar music to electric guitar solos. Some of these are presented using really technologically precise tabs that you can listen to as you play. You can even get guitar tabs in a video game like Rocksmith. For harmonica, what do you actually have to learn from? Well, if you try to learn online, you're going to get tabs that look like this. There's no information, they're often wrong, and the arrangement might be kind of wonky, so that's not great. And then you have books. There's only a handful of them, and only some of them have recordings. So books are going to have better quality tabs, but they're not the easiest to use, and the amount of songs that are presented in books is very limited. This means you're left with songs in harmonica courses, YouTube videos, or just studying from recordings. And that's personally what I prefer. I like taking a song, loading it up into a transcription program like AnyTune, and then writing out the tabs myself. However, it's hard to be really successful with this if you don't already know how to play the harmonica decently well. It makes song learning a very poor vehicle for getting better. This means that the way that you need to learn harmonica needs to be more improvisational. And this is okay with me. It's what I enjoy doing the most, and it's my specific approach as a teacher. I just wish there were more options, you know? If you want to learn the harmonica in an improvisational way, so we avoid the song learning problem, you might be a great fit for my harmonica coaching program called Harmonica Success. You can apply for it so we can see if we're a good fit. The link is in the description with more details. Want to learn what I think about cheap versus expensive harmonicas so you can decide what's worth it for you? Then click this video up here. I'll see you next time. Peace.